This is the Bureau's forecast system for August to October and their accuracy skills. So how good has it been in the past? And it's a little bit, so that map tells us that this is a period of reasonable accuracy. We can say there are some places that are better than Eyre Peninsula, but on the whole, Eyre Peninsula is not a negative zone. Basically, what I'm saying is that it's not the case that Eyre Peninsula dips out, except for when it's not very important to you in November, December, January. Okay, it works as well or as badly here as anywhere else. This is a low noise to skill game. The one time the seasonal forecast works is in spring. In autumn, what really matters is just when the break happens rather than how wet the whole period is. So the timing of the break is probably more important than the total amount of rain, but there is some skill there. This is just looking briefly at what happened. This is the observed, and this is the forecast. The 2020 forecast were looking wet early on, and we had that really strong confidence, and it was horribly dry for that May, June, July, August period, okay? And then really 2020, the wet spring came sort of a bit late in a way. So 2021 was again very strongly in that July, September period. That was very strongly wet, and that was very strongly dry here, okay? And again, that happened through here. We had this wet period through here, okay? And then 2022 was always looking very wet in the forecast, and we were really, and then it came through in August. And we had those wet conditions there. I am saying it's a bit better than 1 out of 3. What's the outlook now? All the Bureau's model runs are going into El Nino at this time of year. They also say we should be careful about interpreting this. This is Bob's model of showing where things are in April, which is about there, like on the verge, but most of the other global models are not showing that. As you go through April, May, June, July, or to August, all the models throw to El Nino. So what's interesting here is we're not left wondering very long. We can see in May, did it happen? So the onset is very, very hard to get right. The models are saying everything, if you like, the oceans are stacked up for that, but we can get the wind burst going the wrong way and something else, and it won't happen like that. The Bureau's forecasts now offer more forecasts more often. So this is from yesterday. It's showing what the outlook is for this week, for this next week, which is a little bit encouraging for some parts. And then as we go for the months, this is a % chance of exceeding the median, and it's getting quite dry. The really good thing that the Bureau's done is that when you click on one of those maps are above or below median, okay? They're just above or below median. This is telling me how much is happening in deciles 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10. It's a lot more information than just saying above or below median. And what this tells us is that the chance of being in deciles 1 and 2 has gone from 20%, which is the long-term odds, to over 40%. But it also says is that there's still some of these runs that have gone above. A really important point is that the Bureau's model that sees that is still got realistic pathways. So this isn't someone playing in Excel and saying, oh well, we better adjust these ones a bit. This is a serious supercomputer which is going for a wetter outcome under an El Nino conditions because MINIPA jags the right rainfall events and so on. I've almost never seen this with central tendency. I've almost never seen it stacked up on decile 5 and 6. A neutral outlook means equal chance of above or below, equal chance of a really good or a really bad season. A neutral outlook does not mean an average year. There's almost no forecast that gives us an average year. Yet that is a very common misinterpretation of the forecast. That because it's not an El Nino or La Nina, we've got to get a decile 5 season. No, we have an equal chance of a decile 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 season. This is uncertainty in forecast, which is got the measurement uncertainty plus just this fact that the atmosphere is chaotic. It can go in different directions in ways that we never will understand, no matter how well we measure it. That doesn't mean we go back and saying, oh, well, we know nothing. We do know something. We do know that betting, we would lean towards a drier April to June than a wetter April to June. But we'll never be able to say we were right or wrong because until we run it for many years, and that's what gives us those green maps. So here are just some thoughts on the forecast over the project. Seasonal forecasts are highly relevant to EP. There's a high degree of awareness. It's part of the media story. Everybody understands a triple La Nina with a possibility of heading to El Nino. I think that's what I'd be surprised if there aren't many people who haven't heard of that. So we do have to work out how do we use this stuff. They influence the feeling about the season. It's part of Twitter chatter and so on. Spring rainfall is when there is highest confidence in the forecast, and spring rainfall matters a lot. And they should always be used with the current status of soil, water and the crop. Andrew gave a really nice talk. Just the fact that we have these different profiles of yield profit which show this very wide range of, especially the blue line. The green line gets closer in some situations with more nitrogen, but the blue line still has this very big spread, and that is irreducible uncertainty. No matter how well you characterize your soil and monitor and everything else, that lies with seasonal variability. That lasts a long time into the season. This is really hard to get our minds around, is that blue line takes a long time to straighten up. No matter what happens, you're still incredibly dependent on what happens in spring. And you haven't got very good forecasts. You've got forecasts that are much better than guessing, but then by no way the sort of weather type accuracy that we'd like to have. So we're dealing with risk. Rather than thinking about one future, we've got to think about multiple futures and make good decisions based on multiple futures, and then after the season work out whether we're lucky or not. What's the best thing to do at the time is to just say, what's the chance, what's the best thing to do for each of these deciles? Then we can do things and say how likely are we to change it over the season. So these forecasts are too good to ignore, but not good enough to be sure. I think climate literacy, understanding IOD and NSOS, can lead to disappointment. They work better for regional grain production in individual paddocks. We can have very dry months. And I think we use with soil measurements, and we have to understand those different levels of uncertainty and so on. They're best not used in isolation.